These 3D stars could be made in a solid color or with any blend you choose. This is a rainbow blend that I've provided the template for. You need to use the template twice, 2 layers of the template, to make this much blend. Now the blend will be cut into 4 pieces, regardless of how much blend you have. But first, divide it into, it's almost equal thirds, but one will be slightly larger. And the largest one is going to be the one that's the solid color. That last one is split into 2. See here you have 4 different shades once they're modified by running through the pasta machine. You can do this with any blend. If you would like a lighter blend, just run it through the pasta machine again until it's a blend. So this is the direction that you would run it through the pasta machine. Do that for all 4 sections, and now you have a dark and medium dark, medium light and light. Now we're going to fold them one more time for our stack. Sometimes you'd run it through the pasta machine one last time lengthwise, but I decided I didn't need to. So here's the stacks. Not even that many layers, but it will work. So it's important at all times throughout this tutorial to see both sides look sort of similar. There's a purple side and a red side, but it's important to keep the rainbow the right direction. So now you can reform these stacks. I start by making a circle and then forming it into whatever shape I want. It's better if you use clay on the softer side. These need to be as crisp as you possibly can make them, all corners, all sides. Nice crisp. As far as what shape you make these triangles, make them right triangles. They need to all be the same size. If they're not the same size, trim them down until they're the same height. This is how you know they're a right triangle, is you can check them against a paper. Each one of the triangles will be cut into 3 sections. However, it's difficult to cut them into sections. I'm using this as a guide so that they're all the same size. Since it's difficult to cut those 3 sections, first I cut it in half. It's also very difficult to get the slices to go down the right sharp down the corners, so I try to score them first. If I have to put this back together and cut again, that's fine. Or shave a little bit off one side and add it to the other side. Now it often squishes down the clay, so I just form it back up as if it had never been pressed down. Both sides I need to kind of fix up a little bit. There might be air holes that I need to get rid of. I'm going very slowly to make it as accurate as possible. Do the same for the other side. Now this triangle is supposed to be a solid triangle. It was only cut for the purposes of making it easier to cut. So now the original right triangle has 3 little triangles. You need to do that for all 3. Okay, it's easy. If you need to be very organized, because once you accidentally mix them up, it's so hard to make the triangle again. So try to be very methodical and organized. And there it is. Got it back. See how confusing it can be? There. Okay, so do that for all 4. These also need to be kept organized. Again, it is so important to keep the rainbow in the right order, the top of the rainbow up, because this part gets super confusing. So you start with the dark, and then that was medium light, light. Take your time, even more time than I have, to really line up everything beautifully. So that's the first triangle. Now grab the lightest triangle, dark. See, I had to get the correct one. I can't just flip it over, that wouldn't work. And medium dark, which is actually the original color right there. So you have two triangles that will now form a square. And that's the red side, the pink side facing up. Now you take the medium dark and medium light. I could have formed two triangles again. For some reason I did this differently. The lightest, medium dark again, the darkest, and medium light. So check the PDF. Yours needs to be exactly like this. On one side it will look like that. On the other side it will look like that. Do not put them together yet. Where you've cut, it will kind of make a depression. You need to bring those back up because when you reduce the cane, those are the ones that are going to sink in first. And this is tricky because I want most of that color to remain while I'm reducing such a large cane. I will lose some of that color. So if you want, at some point you can add more color or clay. I find this turns out beautifully even though I lose some of it, you'll see. This is just some of the ways I go about reducing a cane. I really like this technique, squishing the corners in. Usually I'll make it a diamond one direction and then make it a diamond the other direction. The important thing is to squish the middle in, squish it so that the middle squishes out. I don't know if that makes sense. But if you're really pressing the middle of it, it won't get swallowed in as quickly. Take your time. Oh, the nice thing about there being two canes to reduce is you can just keep switching out and it forces you to let it set. And then that's what it looks like when it's finished. Now both ends, regardless of how well one turns out, you're going to have to slice out the same amount on each end, which means one might be better than the other, but you'll still have to lose the same amount. And there's our pattern together. Again, these look like they're connected, but don't connect them all the way yet. Because this is not like a normal kaleidoscope. You can't just add them like a regular kaleidoscope. These have to be, first of all, you keep the light side up the entire time. But see, I've switched those two. It's very important. A regular kaleidoscope is done very, very differently with everything facing the center. This is not that way. So the next set will be already in the right order. So I'll pick those guys up, set it on there. So it's every other one that needs to be switched. So this one will need to be switched again. All I can say is to check and double check the PDF or these pictures. It's really easy to get mixed up. But you know, if you do, it'll be a different pattern and it'll be beautiful in its own way. That sounded patronizing. Seriously, mistakes are the best way to just make new discoveries. So this one is already set to go. So it's every other one, so the next one will have to be switched. The one on Instagram, I did 16 instead of 6 sections. This, by the way, was 6 sections. You see, it was important that I get all the dark triangles going the way they are. And here I am reducing them. I find it very easy to reduce. This shape is even easier for me to reduce than a lot of other shapes. This time I've cut it into 4 sections. To make a perfect square, I realized after the fact that 3 sections would make a perfect square. 4 sections create this triangle. I mean rectangle.